Chapter 50. A prophet's relation to God and man. Say I. A prophet is a simple, natural man, just like you, with all kinds of weaknesses. However, since he has a wise heart wherein neither anger nor vengefulness, nor envy or pride or adultery, or various kinds of harlotry can strike roots, the divine Spirit cleanses his heart of the manifold dross of the world. And when the heart has been cleansed like that, the divine Spirit pours a light from the heavens into such a heart. Since the prophet easily recognizes this to be a light from the heavens, which always expresses itself in clearly audible words, the thus prepared prophet needs only to repeat with the voice of his mouth what he clearly and distinctly hears in his heart, and is hereby already prophesying on a fully prophetic scale. If this is necessary, the prophet's will is prompted by God to speak to the people and also do before them what he hears in his heart. And this is then called a truthful prophecy or prediction, and is quite as much God's word as if God himself had spoken directly to the people. However, because of this, such a prophet is not a jot more important before God than any other person who does not possess this gift at all. For the prophet must of his very own will also practice what the Spirit of God has spoken through his heart and mouth to the people. Otherwise, a judgment will come upon him just as upon everyone who hears the will of God but does not follow it. And there a prophet is even worse off than another person. For if another one in the weakness and night of his soul has difficulty believing what the prophet speaks to him, his judgment for not believing what the prophet told him will be a lighter one. But for the prophet himself there is no excuse. And this applies also to the one who did believe, but for love of the world and its treasures, did not do what the prophet had bid him. However, the reward of a prophet will once be greater than that of another person, for a prophet will once be greater than that of another person. For a prophet must always bear a sevenfold burden compared with that of any other person. All those to whom a prophet has spoken, the good as well as the bad, will in the beyond be handed over to the prophet, and he will judge them in my name for every word he has spoken to them in vain. But whoever in my name, and the name of the prophet himself, takes a true prophet into his house, provides for him and his friend, will once also receive the reward of a prophet. And who supports a prophet to ease his difficult work will also receive a prophet's reward. For in the beyond a prophet's servant will be on the same level as the prophet himself, and will, therefore, judge the spirits subordinate to the prophet and reign over them, and his kingdom will be everlasting. But woe betide those who forsake a prophet, and sometimes in one or the other thing even distrust him. And even greater woe to the persecutors of a prophet, for these will hardly ever come to see God. But whoever lays hands on a prophet shall be punished with eternal fire in the lowest hell. A prophet's heart is God's, and so is his mouth, his hands, feet, eyes, and ears. Where the prophet is, there is also God. Therefore, you shall enter his dwelling place with deep reverence, for the place where he is standing is holy. That must be observed within the heart, not for the sake of the prophet who is a man, but for the sake of God who speaks and testifies in the prophet's heart. The reason why a true prophet announces judgment upon judgment on the world is simply the fact that God awakens a prophet only when the world has forgotten him and has plunged into all the worldly vices. Tell me, Ebal, whether you now do understand the nature of a true prophet. Says Ebal, completely, you my highly regarded master. But judging from this, you must surely be a prophet too. Say I am not a prophet, for it is written, no prophet will arise from Galilee. But I am more than a prophet, for in my bosom dwells that same Spirit whom spoke through the mouth of the prophets, and will be speaking much more henceforth. For those who will be carrying my name in their heart, fully believing, will also have the spirit of prophecy within them.